United States, he was America's most trusted symbol of justice. Drop of blood until the day he killed an innocent hero. Man detective, the mission was fake. The threat was fabricated. The truth was hidden. Face screaming in fear, and Captain America pulled the trigger anyway. Stop sign. What if his final mission wasn't a battle, but a setup? Collision. The man he killed wasn't a villain. He was Earth's last defense. Broken heart. Now the world is exposed. And no one knows it yet. Exploding head. Who gave Steve Rogers the kill order? Why was the file fake? Warning. And when Captain America finally found out the truth, it was already too late. Clapperboard. This is the shocking story Marvel never told you. Until now. The jet sliced through black clouds, rain streaking across its reinforced vibranium hull. Inside, Steve Rogers sat still, helmet off, fingers curled tight around a red folder stamped Omega Red. Terminate on sight. It had no photo, no intel, just classified alien-human hybrid. Power level unstable. Possible threat to planetary stability. Neutralize immediately. No name, no past. No coordinates, just a signal tracker locked onto a faint ping in Eastern Europe. Steve had executed thousands of missions, but this one didn't feel right. Still, the voice in his earpiece echoed firm and final. You have 24 hours. This thing doesn't get to breathe tomorrow's air. The jet landed near a destroyed outpost, formerly Shield Run, now abandoned. Burnt wires dangled from cracked walls. Snow flurried through broken ceilings. Steve advanced through the wreckage, shield strapped, boots crunching glass. The tracker blinked, stronger now. Whatever it was alive and close. Suddenly, static. Then a voice. You're not supposed to be here, Captain. Steve froze. The man emerged slowly. Mid-30s. Hoodie soaked in rain. Calm. Quiet. No weapon drawn. No threat made. Just watching. The tracker in Steve's hand went wild. This was the target. But there was no alien mutation, no glowing hands, no twisted form. Just a man. With sad eyes. I've read every SHIELD file on you, he said. They said you'd never pull the trigger without confirmation. Steve blinked. Who are you? I was born under the Stark Initiative. You don't know me because they erased me. They said I was too powerful, but I've never hurt anyone. His voice didn't tremble. The file they gave you was fake. Steve's grip on the shield tightened. His instincts screamed to wait, to question, to verify. But the voice in his ear returned. Rogers, you hesitate, you jeopardize millions. Do it now. His heart pounded. The man didn't move. Then, out of nowhere, a blast. Steve ducked, shield up, but it wasn't from a target. Snipers. Hidden. Government drones. They were watching, triggering a false attack, making it look like the man attacked first. It was a setup, a stage, a play, and Steve was cast as the executioner. He leaped forward, deflecting a blast, knocking the man down behind cover. They're framing you. Stay low. But the man didn't run. They've been trying to erase me for years, Cap. I just wanted to exist. His eyes flicked upward, drones moving in. Steve knew what would happen next. They'd eliminate the asset and scrub the operation clean, including him if he disobeyed. I can help you, the man said. But if you let them kill me, no one will ever know the truth. Steve looked up. The drones locked aim. A countdown beeped in his ear. Final warning, Captain. Neutralize now. He stood. His shield rose. He aimed it, not at the man, but at the drone. He threw it. Metal screeched. The drone exploded in midair. But the second one fired. Steve turned. And, in a flash, it was over. Smoke cleared. The man lay on the ground. A blast hole burned through his chest. Not by Steve's hand, but because Steve hesitated. He ran forward, lifted the man's body. Why didn't you run? The man coughed, blood on his lips. Because I thought you'd save me. Then silence. Steve Rogers had faced monsters, aliens, titans. But this time, he didn't save anyone. This time, he was the weapon. Back at the base, the mission was marked successful. Threat eliminated. But Steve stormed into S.H.I.E.L.D.'s archive room. He scanned the original file. Encrypted. Locked. He used his override. Fury's personal code. And what unraveled turned his blood cold. There was no Omega Red hybrid. There was no world-ending threat. The man was a mutant test subject from a top-secret joint program between S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra holdovers. He was never supposed to leave the lab. But he escaped. And someone high up gave the kill order to cover the trail. Steve gritted his teeth. His last mission wasn't justice. It was a cover-up. And he pulled the trigger by playing into their hands. The world hailed him again. Captain Rogers saves Earth one last time. Headlines roared. News cycle spun. But Steve Rogers disappeared. He left the tower, left the medal, left the shield, and vanished. Only a blood-stained file remained in his locker, with 4 words scratched on the back in his handwriting. I killed the wrong man. The folder wasn't supposed to exist. Locked beneath biometric clearance. No name on the drawer. No digital copy in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s archives. Only paper. Yellowing. Fragile. Steve Rogers found it deep inside a cold storage vault 2 floors beneath S.H.I.E.L.D.'s main operations wing. A place even Nick Fury once said we pretend doesn't exist. He slid the folder open. The top page was a redacted mission briefing, but not his. Target. Subject Icarus. Origin Echo Division status. Terminated by Agent Rogers. Authorization Strike Black. Real name erased. Former status Project Guardian Experimental Hybrid Level 7 clearance. Steve's hand trembled. Project Guardian? Echo Division? These weren't S.H.I.E.L.D. programs. Not anymore. They were shut down years ago. Or so he'd been told. He flipped through. Every page painted a horror story hidden in clean government fonts. The man he killed had been engineered to protect Earth from cosmic-level threats. He wasn't a weapon. He was a shield. And now he was gone. Because Steve pulled the trigger on a lie. Steve stormed into Maria Hill's office. Slammed the file down. Tell me this is fake. She blinked. Where did you get that? Don't play dumb. Why wasn't I told who the target really was? Hill paused. Because you weren't supposed to know. Steve's voice dropped. What did they do to him? They created him. Then they feared him. Then they erased him. Steve stepped back, fist clenched. Why send me? Hill's gaze was cold. Because the public trusts you. If he died by your hand, no one would question it. There it was. Plain. Ugly. Real. He wasn't the hero this time. He was the alibi. That night, Steve sat alone in his old Brooklyn apartment. The city outside didn't know. Didn't care. They still wore his symbol on backpacks and t-shirts. They still told bedtime stories about the righteous captain who never missed the truth. But the real truth was, he missed the biggest lie of all. He turned on the hidden drive he stole from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s archives. Plugged it into his encrypted terminal. A flicker. Then a screen came alive. Welcome to Echo Division. Level Omega file access granted. A single video auto-played. Static. Then a young Tony Stark. Recorded years ago. If you're seeing this, Echo Division has been compromised. Steve leaned forward. We created Subject Icarus as a contingency for threats beyond even me, Thor, or you, Cap. But I warned them, if you try to control him, you'll turn a protector into a prisoner. And if S.H.I.E.L.D. tries to erase him, you'll end up killing the only thing that could save us. The video glitched, then ended. Steve stared blankly. Tony had known. He tried to stop it. And now he was gone, too. The final message on the drive flashed red. Project Guardian failsafe, triggered. Second subject, activated. Second subject? Steve's heart dropped. Another one. Another like Icarus. Alive. Unaccounted for. Possibly hunted. He had to find them. Steve went dark. No calls. No signals. Just a silent trail across Eastern Europe, tracing back every facility, every handler, every whisper of Project Guardian. In a burned-out medical facility in Romania, he found it. Not a person. A crib. Shattered glass. Scratches on the walls. And a child's drawing. Crayon. Messy. but unmistakable. A man with glowing eyes saving the world. And beside him, another, smaller, with hands afire. The caption, "Me and Brother." Steve's stomach twisted. There were two. And now only one remained. A scared, unstable, hunted sibling with powers he couldn't control or understand. Back in the U.S., S.H.I.E.L.D. scrambled. They had no idea where Steve was. No updates. No GPS. But someone else was watching. From deeper shadows. Inside the Pentagon, behind a two-way mirror, a Black Ops handler in a suit lit a cigar. "He's found the trail." Another man leaned in. "Should we bring him in?" "No. Let him run. Let him think he's chasing answers. We'll need him for the final protocol." "And the remaining subject?" The handler smiled. "Let them eat. It'll save us the trouble." Meanwhile, in a small village in the Carpathian Mountains, a boy with burning eyes stood outside an empty cabin. He felt something. A presence approaching. Not danger. Familiarity. Like the feeling of a brother who never came home. Steve Rogers stepped through the snow. Slowly. Shield on his back. File in his hand. And regret in every step. The boy turned. Eyes glowing. Heart racing. And whispered, "Are you the one who killed him?" Steve nodded once. No excuses. No lies. Only the truth. "Yes," he said. "But I didn't come to hurt you. I came to tell you who he really was. And who you really are." The wind howled. The snow fell. But the story wasn't over. It had just begun. The boy didn't speak for a long time. He just stared at Steve, eyes glowing orange like distant suns. The air around him shimmered faintly, warping space like heat off asphalt. Snowflakes hit his skin and evaporated. Steve stood still. No shield raised. No fear. Finally, the boy asked, "Was my brother afraid when you killed him?" Steve swallowed. He didn't run. He believed I'd protect him even in the end. The boy looked down. His fists clenched, but he didn't lash out. "They said I was a monster." Steve shook his head. "They say that to people they can't control." The boy looked up again. "Then why are they coming for me?" Steve tensed. "Because they didn't just create you to save the world. They built you to replace it." 30 minutes later, in the flickering light of the broken fireplace inside the abandoned cabin, Steve unrolled the classified documents he'd stolen from Echo Division. Pages about Protocol, Leviathan. The final plan, hidden even from the Avengers. A quote at the top of the page. "When Earth's protectors fall, the next phase must begin." The goal wasn't peace. It was control after chaos. The two brothers, Icarus and Sol, were genetically engineered not just to fight threats, but to replace every single Avenger. Their DNA was spliced with cosmic particles. One designed for defense, the other for offense. Icarus, the older one, was calm, measured. Sol, the younger, was untested, volatile. A child when the labs exploded. He escaped, vanished. S.H.I.E.L.D. never found him. Until now. Steve knew they would come. Not S.H.I.E.L.D. Not the Avengers. Something darker. Quieter. The Black Vault Unit, an illegal strike team created after Thanos' invasion to clean up super anomalies without asking questions. And they were already inbound. A helicopter pierced the mountain fog an hour later. Unmarked. Silent. 6 elite operatives rappelled down. Full black armor. Pulse weapons. They didn't announce themselves. They just opened fire. Steve shoved Sol behind an overturned table. "Stay down. Don't burn them. You'll only prove them right." Sol's eyes blazed. "Why should I let them kill me?" "Because if you lose control, they win." The walls exploded. Steve rolled, shield raised, deflecting blasts. One agent rushed in. Steve caught him midair and slammed him into the stone wall. Another aimed at the boy. Too slow. Sol raised one hand. The blast froze midair. Then reversed. Like time rewinding. The soldier screamed as his own energy crushed into his chest. Steve turned. Sol, no. Too late. His power was awakening. And it was terrifying. After the fight, Steve dragged the last surviving soldier outside into the snow. Who gave the kill order? The man coughed blood. Doesn't matter. Leviathan wakes now. You can't stop it. Steve's eyes narrowed. What is Leviathan? The soldier smiled, blood on his teeth. Your replacements. Not just Soul. There are more. Dozens. Hidden in stasis across the globe. And now that you're rogue, they're waking all of them. He pressed a button on his wrist and detonated. The shockwave knocked Steve back. But the message rang clear. They were replacing the Avengers. One by one. And Steve had just been labeled the final threat. Back inside, Soul paced. His eyes still flickering. Why are they doing this? Why not just let the Avengers protect Earth? Steve spoke quietly. Because they don't trust gods, aliens, or enhanced heroes anymore. They want obedience, not protection. He pulled out the last classified page. A list of code names. All labeled Project, Vantage, SBDRX, subject infused with synthetic spider abilities. Rage Thor, wielding a machine-forged hammer powered by nuclear cores. Echo Panther, trained in Wakandan mimicry and stealth. Stark-X, a fully AI-controlled suit with human tissue interface. CAP-0, enhanced with Captain America's own DNA. They weren't just replacing the Avengers. They were cloning them, improving them, controlling them, and they had already begun deployment. Steve made his decision. We're going underground. Soul looked up. Why? You should turn me in. I'm unstable. You're a kid, Soul. And you didn't ask to be made. You didn't ask to be used as a weapon. But I've seen what happens when power is controlled by fear. He stood. I won't let them erase another one of you. Not again. The next morning, a message went out across a secured Avengers line. Encrypted. Untraceable. Just 6 words. Leviathan is real. I need help. Somewhere in space, Carol Danvers read it and froze. Deep in Wakanda, Shuri's lab lit up with the alert. In a hidden realm, Dr. Strange raised an eyebrow and saw a vision of the Earth burning under its own protectors. But the real threat hadn't arrived yet, because one of the clones, CAP-0, had already awakened, and he was headed for one person only, the man whose blood made him, Steve Rogers. The forest was dead silent. Not even the birds dared move. Steve stood in the clearing, snow crunching under his boots. Soul was hidden a few clicks away, guarded by allies Steve still trusted, if any remained. But this moment was personal. A shadow moved through the trees. Then it stepped into the light. CAP-0. Same uniform, same height, same shield. But this wasn't Steve Rogers. This was a manufactured ghost, built to replace him, beat him, erase him. The face was identical, but the eyes, they were empty. Steve Rogers, the clone said, your service has been archived. Your legacy repurposed. Steve didn't flinch. I'm not a file. I'm not a weapon. I'm a man. CAP-0 raised his shield. That's your weakness. The clone attacked, like lightning. Faster than Steve remembered himself ever being. Precision. Brutality. Efficiency. Their shields collided. A thunderous crack echoed through the trees. Steve staggered back. Who trained you? You did, Cesaro replied. Every move you ever made uploaded, broken down, rebuilt better. Steve barely ducked under a spinning kick. He slammed his shield into CAP-0's chest, but the clone didn't even grunt. This wasn't just a fight. It was a deletion order. Blow after blow, the battle turned savage. Steve's shield cracked a tree in half. CAP-0's blade slashed through reinforced bark like butter. Then, a critical moment. The clone cornered Steve near a cliffside. The snowy edge crumbled beneath their boots. You served your era well, Cesaro said. But emotion has no place in tomorrow's Avengers. He lunged. Steve rolled, barely dodging, and grabbed the clone's arm mid-strike. You're not a soldier, Steve growled. You're a story they forged from fear. And with that, Steve twisted, slamming CAP-0's body off the cliff edge. The clone hit the rocks below with a sickening crunch. Steve collapsed to one knee, chest heaving. But it wasn't over. From below movement. The clone stood back up, bones snapping. Limbs reconfiguring. Nanotech. Regenerative armor. I don't break, CP0 said. I reset. He began climbing back up the cliff, eyes glowing now, red with override code. They'd programmed him to finish the job, no matter the cost, even if it meant destroying himself. Steve looked up at the rising sun. No more running. Suddenly, a ripple in the air. A portal. Dr. Strange stepped through, hands glowing. Stephen, I tracked your distress signal, and I brought backup. Behind him, Carol Danvers, glowing with cosmic energy. Black Panther, claws ready. Sam Wilson, wings expanded, new shield in hand. Steve nodded once. He's not just a clone. He's the beginning of a war. Carol stepped forward. Then we end it before it begins. As CAP0 climbed over the ridge, he froze, face scanning the new arrivals. The original Avengers. The real protectors. Backed by the truth. But then, his eyes flickered. He scanned Carol, Sam, Chala. His voice changed, glitched. Multiple legacy threats detected. Switching to level Omega protocol. He's going to self-destruct, Strange warned. He'll take this entire mountain down just to finish the mission. Steve stepped forward, unafraid. Let me talk to him. He approached slowly. You're not just code. You're built for me. That means there's a piece of humanity in you, even if they tried to bury it. The clone blinked, confused. You don't have to follow the mission. You can choose. A pause. For the first time, CAP0 lowered his shield. But before Steve could reach him, a sniper shot rang out, straight into the clone's head. He collapsed instantly. All eyes turned to the hill above. A Black Ops squad stood watching. Their leader spoke into a comm. Subject compromised. Termination complete. Phase 2 begins immediately. And just like that, they vanished. Steve looked down at the clone. One final breath escaped its lips. I wanted to be real. Then stillness. A week later, the world still didn't know what happened on that mountain. News reports called it a minor explosion in Eastern Europe. No names. No footage. No questions. Just another cover-up. But inside the Avengers' hidden base, deep underground in a shielded chamber carved beneath Wakanda, the truth was unraveling fast. Steve Rogers stood before a holographic table surrounded by Earth's remaining protectors. Carol Danvers, Sam Wilson, Shuri, Wong, Bruce Banner, and behind them the boy, Soul, silent, watching. The screen glowed red. Project Leviathan. Phase 2 activated. Status, global release in progress. A map blinked. Red dots spread across every continent. Each dot, a facility. Each facility, a pod. Each pod holding a replacement. We thought it was just CAP0, Shuri whispered. But it's not. It's a program. An entire army of artificial Avengers. Bruce zoomed in on one file. They didn't just clone us. They evolved us. Merged our DNA with tech, AI, and alien biology. They weren't creating heroes. They were building obedience. Wong raised his brow. Then why wake them now? Steve's voice was heavy. Because I refused to play their game. I exposed the lie. I became unpredictable. And to them, unpredictability is dangerous. Carol stepped forward. And if they unleash these clones, the real Avengers become threats to neutralize. Everyone went silent. Then Soul spoke. Quiet. Careful. If my brother died trying to protect Earth, and they used me as a weapon, then let me be the one to finish what he started. Steve looked at him, not as a child, not as a weapon, but as the final piece of a truth. We stopped Phase 2 together. Across the Atlantic, in an underground lab in London, a technician stared in panic as alarms blared. One of the pods cracked open. Gas hissed out. A foot stepped forward. It wasn't human. It was a perfect replica of Thor, but made of bioengineered Asgardian tissue mixed with vibranium-infused blood. And it wasn't speaking. It was scanning, searching. Then it whispered one word. Target, Thor Odinson. Location, Asgard. And vanished in a flash of stolen Bifrost tech. In New York, a pod containing SBDRX, the synthetic Spider-Man, broke through the containment glass and webbed a shield guard to the wall. He didn't run. He walked straight into the open streets, climbed the tallest skyscraper, and stared down at the city, waiting for the original. Back in Wakanda, Shuri's lab trembled as Soul, now surrounded by magical runes and tech from 5 continents, stepped into the center of a conversion ring. Steve handed him a disc. The last message from Icarus, his brother, recovered from the broken drive. If you're hearing this, it means I failed. But that also means you're free now. Don't run. Don't destroy. Choose. That's what makes you real. Soul closed his eyes. The ring activated. His energy pulsed outward, scanning the globe, looking for every signal connected to Project Leviathan, pinpointing their locations, their weaknesses, their patterns. He opened his eyes. I see them all, and I can shut them down. The team moved fast. Carol took the skies, chasing down Rage Thor before he could reach New Asgard. Wong and Strange opened portals to shut down the Europe labs. Sam led a stealth unit into a Siberian vault containing 7 clone soldiers, including Echo Panther. Bruce deployed nanotech suppression across North America to freeze activation codes. And Steve, he stayed with Soul, protecting him, because Soul was the key to it all. But then the override signal hit. A new that appeared on the map. Not red, not blue, but black. An Omega-level command hub, buried in the Pacific beneath a false ocean trench. It was the origin of all commands, all clones, all protocols. Soul gasped. They're sending a kill switch to every clone, and me. His body trembled. Lights surged from his fingertips. They're trying to shut me down permanently. Steve held him. You're stronger than the code. You're not theirs anymore. Soul fell to his knees. He was glitching, fading. Then, let me go there. Into the signal. Let me burn it from the inside. Carol's voice echoed through the comms. That's a suicide mission. Steve looked down at Soul. It's not suicide if it's the only way to be free. In seconds, Strange opened a portal to the command hub. Soul stepped through. No suit. No weapons. Just raw power and a choice. Inside the command hub, giant machines spun, cold, inhuman perfect. Soul walked into the core, and everything inside screamed. Subject rejected. Initiate purge. But Soul didn't run. He absorbed it. All of it. The lies. The pain. The programming. Then he looked into the mainframe and whispered, I'm not your weapon. I'm his brother. And with one scream, he exploded into pure light. The hub collapsed. Every clone across the planet froze. Shut down. Forever. Back in Wakanda, the map blinked. Red dots gone. Phase 2. Erased. Steve sat alone hours later. The sky above him dark. No celebration. No victory parade. Just a silent moment for the 2 brothers who never asked to be created, but chose to be human anyway. Soul's drawing, recovered from Romania, now sat in Steve's hand. 2 brothers, saving the world. Steve smiled. And for the first time in weeks, he breathed. Epilogue. S.H.I.E.L.D. was dismantled. Echo Division exposed. The world finally learned the truth. About Icarus. About Soul. About the clone war that never reached the headlines. Because the last real Avenger stopped it before it began. Some say Steve Rogers disappeared after that. But sometimes, in the mountains, in the sky, in the silence, people still see a man with a shield, walking alone, protecting the truth. White heavy checkmark story complete.